39 ferocious wolf terrifies everyone, until a female veteran appears, unveiling shocking pasts. Beneath the icy glow of the moon, a ferocious gray wolf, its golden eyes blazing like fire, strikes terror into anyone who dares approach. Phantom, a name whispered in fear, embodies untamed wilderness, a wounded soul scarred by the cruel traps of man. No one dares confront it, no one dares challenge it, until Nora, a battle-scarred female veteran carrying dark secrets, steps into the forest. Can she reach the heart of this savage beast, or will her own haunting past drag them both into eternal darkness? Before we dive in, let us know where you're watching from, and if you love stories like this, don't forget to subscribe. The Bitterroot Forest in Montana stretched endlessly beneath a gray, unforgiving sky, its snow-dusted pines whispering secrets in the biting wind. It was late afternoon, the kind of winter day where the cold seeped into your bones, and the fading light painted the wilderness in hues of danger and isolation. The air was sharp, carrying the faint tang of pine and the promise of a storm. This was a place of raw beauty, a sanctuary for creatures like the gray wolf, once hunted to the brink of extinction, now clinging to survival in the rugged heart of the Bitterroot. Somewhere in this vast, untamed expanse, a drama of life and death was about to unfold. Deep in the forest, near a frozen creek, Phantom moved with the silent grace of a shadow. A 5-year-old gray wolf, he was a striking figure. His silver-gray coat shimmered faintly under the dim light, his amber eyes burned with intelligence and authority. Scars marked his powerful frame. A jagged one on his left shoulder spoke of a previous escape from a trap, but his muscular build and a commanding presence made him a legend among the locals. As the alpha of a small pack of 4 or 5 wolves, Phantom was known for his cunning, leading his family through the mountains with an instinct that kept them clear of human snares. Until today, the trap was a cruel thing, its steel jaws hidden beneath a layer of dry leaves and snow, placed by an illegal hunter who trafficked in wolf pelts for the black market. Phantom, focused on the hunt, led his pack toward the creek, his senses sharp but not sharp enough to detect the danger. A single misstep and the trap snapped shut, its teeth sinking into his foreleg. Pain seared through him like fire. Blood stained the snow crimson as he thrashed, his powerful body straining against the unyielding metal. Each movement only tightened the trap's grip, and the forest seemed to hold its breath, watching the king of the wild struggle. Phantom's amber eyes darted around, not just in pain but in calculation. He wasn't merely a beast reacting to agony, he was analyzing, assessing. His pack, hearing his distress, lingered at the edge of the clearing, their anxious whines piercing the silence. But fear of the unknown drove them back into the shadows, leaving Phantom alone. He let out a long, mournful howl, a call for help that went unanswered. Undeterred, he clawed at the frozen ground, trying to dig the trap free, his intelligence shining through even in desperation. But the steel held fast and his strength began to wane, blood pooling beneath him. Miles away, Ethan Caldwell paused in his work. A retired veterinarian at 65, he lived in a weathered wooden cabin 20 miles from the nearest town, a solitary figure with silver hair and a face etched by years of hard choices. His sharp eyes, softened by compassion, had seen countless animals saved from the brink. He was checking a wildlife camera near the creek when Phantom's howl cut through the silence, a sound so raw it sent a chill down his spine. "That's no ordinary cry," he muttered, slinging his backpack over his shoulder. He grabbed a flashlight and, as a precaution, a hunting rifle, though he hoped he wouldn't need it. With a steady stride, he headed toward the sound, the forest swallowing him whole. As Ethan approached the creek, the scene came into view. Phantom, trapped and defiant, his silver coat stained with blood, his eyes blazing with a mix of fury and fear. Ethan stopped 10 meters away, his breath catching at the sight. The wolf's growl rumbled like thunder, his hackles raised, teeth bared in a warning that promised violence despite his injury. Ethan held his ground, studying the wolf's wounds and behavior. "You're no ordinary beast, are you?" he whispered, noting the intelligence in those amber eyes. They locked gazes, and for a moment it felt like a standoff between two souls sizing each other up, each waiting for the other to flinch. Ethan's heart raced, but his resolve held firm. He saw the trap's design, no ranger's mark, just the crude work of a poacher. "Illegal," he muttered, his jaw tightening. The hunter could be nearby, watching, waiting. Time was short. From his pack he pulled a pair of heavy-duty bolt cutters and a vial of sedative, but one look at Phantom's wild eyes told him drugs would only escalate the danger. Instead, he spoke softly, his voice a steady rhythm against the wind. "Easy boy, I'm here to help. Just stay with me." The words were more for himself than the wolf, a mantra to keep his hands steady. Inching closer, Ethan kept his body low, avoiding any move that might provoke. Phantom's growls grew louder, his muscles tensing with each step. Ethan took. The air crackled with tension, the forest holding its breath. At 5 meters, Phantom lunged, or tried to, the trap yanking him back with a sickening clang. Ethan froze, his heart pounding, narrowly avoiding a swipe from the wolf's massive paw. All right, he murmured, retreating a step. Minutes passed, each one an eternity, as he waited for Phantom to set. Finally, with a deep breath, he closed the gap, his cutters poised over the trap's chain. The metal groaned as Ethan worked, his hands steady despite the wolf's low, menacing growl. Sweat beaded on his brow, the cold forgotten in the heat of the moment. Phantom's eyes never left him, a predator's gaze that could unravel lesser men. Then, with a final snap, the trap gave way, and the jaws released. Phantom sprang back, free but unsteady, his injured leg trembling. He bared his teeth one last time, a warning or perhaps a farewell, before bolting into the darkness, leaving a trail of blood on the snow. Ethan exhaled, his knees weak, and knelt to examine the scene. The trap was a tool, no doubt about it. Nearby he found a boot print, fresh and deep, alongside an empty rifle cartridge, his gut twisted. "You're not out of danger yet, friend," he said to the empty forest, picturing the hunter lurking in the shadows. Phantom was gone but not safe. The wolf's survival hung in the balance, and Ethan knew he couldn't walk away. Back at his cabin, Ethan sat by the fire, its glow casting shadows on his weathered face. He opened his notebook, pen scratching as he wrote, "Gray wolf, male, intelligent, aggressive, but capable of trust if approached right." He reviewed footage from his creek camera, noting Phantom's familiarity with the terrain. "You've been here before," he mused, a plan forming. He'd set up a monitoring zone near the cabin. More maybe call Lila Bennett, a biologist who'd know how to track a wolf like this. Phantom deserved a chance, and Ethan was determined to give it to him. As he closed the notebook, a distant howl pierced the night, raw and unbroken. Phantom was alive, out there fighting. Ethan leaned back, staring into the fire. The wolf's amber eyes burned into his memory, not just ferocity, but a soul desperate to endure. Outside, the wind howled, carrying whispers of the hunter still stalking the forest. The story had begun, and its end was far from certain. 2 months had passed since the trap snapped shut on Phantom's leg, but the bitter root's chill hadn't softened. Outside Missoula, Montana, the Wildlife Rescue Center squatted in a snow-swept valley, its rusted chain-like fences and steel cages, a grim testament to hope, stretched thin. The air was sharp with antiseptic, and the low growls of wounded creatures, a place where desperation hung as heavy as the cold. This was no sanctuary for the wild. It was a way station for animals too broken or dangerous to roam free, a facility scraping by on meager funds, ill-equipped for a beast like a gray wolf. Inside one of its cramped cages, Phantom waited, his fate teetering on a knife's edge. The wolf was a shadow of his former self. Once a regal alpha, Phantom's silver-gray coat was now matted and dull, his scarred foreleg a constant reminder of the poacher's trap. His amber eyes, though, burned with a fierce vigilance, even through exhaustion. Captured by rangers after straying too close to a ranch, suspected but never proven of attacking livestock, he'd been caged for weeks. Claw marks and teeth gouges scarred the cage's bars, each a testament to his relentless fight for freedom. Phantom wasn't just surviving, he was defying the walls that held him, a king stripped of his throne but not his will. The center had tried to tame him and failed. The first attempt ended in blood. A staffer too eager with a sedative needle got a bite that needed stitch. They labeled him dangerous after that. The second time, Phantom tore through a temporary cage, toppling steel frames and slipping into a storage room, sending the staff into chaos before they corralled him. The third effort was gentler, a behaviorist offering food to coax trust, but Phantom's snarls and refusal to eat shut it down. "This wolf won't bend," the expert had said, shaking his head. "He's untamable." Ethan Caldwell stood before the cage, summoned by Tom Harper, a weary staffer he'd worked with on past rescues. The center was a grim place, its fluorescent lights flickering, its walls echoing with the cries of the forgotten. Tom's face was etched with fatigue as he gestured to Phantom's cage. 48 hours, Ethan, he said, voice heavy. If no one takes him, we put him down. He's too dangerous, a liability we can't afford. Tom called the wolf a menace, but his eyes betrayed reluctance. I don't want to do it, but we've got no choice. Ethan stepped closer, his silver hair catching the dim light, his weathered face unreadable. At 65, he'd seen enough to know when a creature was more than its scar. Phantom lay coiled in the cage's corner, his body tensed, but when Ethan met his gaze, the wolf rose, a low growl rumbling in his throat. Those amber eyes locked onto him, sharp and unyielding, not with blind rage but with something deeper. Ethan's breath caught. It was the same wolf he'd freed 2 months ago, the one whose intelligence had haunted him. You're still fighting, aren't you? He murmured, feeling a strange connection spark in that fleeting moment. Tom's voice cut through, taking him's crazy. He could turn on you or worse get you sued if he bolts. Another staffer, colder, chimed in, rattling off costs and liabilities, pushing euthanasia as the easy fix. Ethan barely listened, his eyes on Phantom. The wolf didn't charge the bars, didn't snap, just watched, as if daring Ethan to decide his fate. The clock was ticking, and Ethan felt the weight of it, the air thick with the stakes of life and death. He made his choice. I'm taking him, Ethan said, his voice firm, rooted in decades of trusting his instincts. He signed the papers, accepting full legal responsibility, promising to keep Phantom in a monitored zone near his cabin, not caged but free to roam. Tom shook his head, skeptic. If he's too wild, Ethan, I'll prove otherwise, Ethan replied. Meeting Tom's gaze, he deserves a shot. The transfer was tense. Phantom snarled through the journey, his cage rattling in the back of Ethan's truck, but when Ethan opened the door remotely, standing well back, the wolf didn't lunge. At the edge of the forest, 200 meters from the cabin, Ethan released him into a marked zone rigged with infrared cameras. Phantom bounded into the trees, a silver blur, but paused once, turning to fix Ethan with a stare, not hostile, but wary, a glimmer of something like acknowledgement. Then he was gone, swallowed by the pines. Back at the cabin, Ethan sat by the fire, the glow flickering across his notebook. He wrote, Phantom doesn't trust humans, but he's no killer. I'll give him time. The camera feed showed the wolf prowling near the creek, still limping but fiercely alert. Ethan's jaw tightened, thinking of the poacher's boot print, the rifle cartridge. A howl broke the silence, proof Phantom lived. But the hunter was still out there, and Ethan knew the fight wasn't over. The wolf's story hung in the balance, and he'd be damned if he let it end. The forest loomed around Ethan Caldwell's cabin, a wooden refuge tucked 20 miles from the nearest town, shrouded in snow-laden pines in the relentless chill of a Montana winter morning. Frost clung to the cabin's weathered logs, and inside a fire crackled in the hearth, casting a warm glow over a simple world. Shelves stuffed with wildlife journals, a cluttered desk buried under notes about a wolf named Phantom. Outside, the wind howled through the trees, rattling the windows and snapping branches in the frozen wilderness. It was a place of stark beauty, but its isolation carried a whisper of danger, as if the forest itself held secrets too wild to tame. Ethan stood at the stove, stirring a pot of coffee, his silver hair catching the firelight. At 65, his face bore the lines of a life spent saving creatures others deemed lost, but his eyes held a quiet compassion. Today was different, though. No animal awaited his care, only a person, a stranger carrying wounds deeper than flesh. Nora Hayes, a 32-year-old Army veteran, was due to arrive, sent by a program that paired wounded soldiers with quiet retreats to heal. Ethan had hosted others before, but something about Nora's file, her silence, her trauma, stuck with him, like the echo of a howl he couldn't ignore. The rumble of a military truck broke the morning stillness, its headlights cutting through the snow. Ethan stepped onto the porch, breath fogging in the air. As Nora emerged from the vehicle, she was lean but wiry, her brown hair tied back, her gray ulis haunted, like storm clouds holding back a flood. A long scar snaked down her left arm, a brutal reminder of an IED blast that had claimed 3 of her squad and shattered her world. Once a decisive leader, Nora now moved with a guarded stillness, her gaze drifting as if trapped in memories of smoke and scream. She carried a small backpack, clothes, a journal, a dagger that glinted with meaning, a relic from a fallen friend. Welcome, Nora, Ethan said,
his voice gentle but steady, reading the tension in her posture.
He saw it instantly. The same weariness he'd seen in cornered animals, a soul braced for pain. Nora nodded, her lips tight, offering no words. Ethan led her inside, keeping his tone light, talking of the weather, the deer that roamed the woods, anything to ease her into this strange new world. But Nora's eyes stayed low, her responses limited to curt nods, her silence a wall as thick as the cabin's logs. When Ethan dropped a book from a shelf, the thud sent her flinching, her hand darting to the dagger in her pocket, her breath catching. Ethan froze, heart sinking. PTSD, the file had said. He saw it now, raw and unyielding. "I've got a room ready for you," he said, moving slowly, leading her to a small space with a single bed, a wooden desk, and a window framing the snow-draped forest. On the desk sat a book about the Bitterroot Wilderness, and a note in its scrawl, "Feel free to explore. I'm here if you need me." He wanted her to feel safe, not watched. "Fireplace is easy to use," he added, pointing to the hearth. "Paths around here are clear if you want to walk." Nora nodded again, her gaze fixed on the floor, and Ethan backed off, sensing her need for space. "She's not broken," he thought, closing the door, "just wounded, like the animals." Nora spent her first day barricaded in the room, emerging only to scan the cabin's perimeter with a soldier's precision, her steps measured, eyes darting to every shadow. She stood by the window, staring into the forest, her expression a mix of vigilance and curiosity, as if the trees might hold answers, or threats. Ethan offered dinner, a simple stew, but she shook her head, pulling a protein bar from her pack instead, her self-reliance a shield. He didn't push. He'd seen this before in the wild, creatures too scared to trust, needing time to find their footing. "She's not here to be fixed," he told himself. "She needs room to find herself." By the second morning, Nora stirred early, driven by a restlessness she couldn't name. She slipped out before dawn, her backpack slung over her shoulder, the dagger tucked close. The forest was silent, save for the crunch of snow under her boots. As she followed a path to the creek, unaware it was near Phantom's monitorings, she paused at a large rock, kneeling to trace animal tracks in the snow, her breath steadying for the first time in months. The forest's vastness seemed to quiet the chaos in her mind, its stillness a balm to the nightmares that woke her. Explosions, screams, the weight of law. For a moment she felt almost whole. A twig snapped in the distance, and Nora's hand flew to her dagger, her body tensing, eyes scanning the trees. Nothing, just shadows dancing in the wind. Her heart pounded, the forest peace shattered by the ghost of danger, real or imagined. Was it a hunter, a threat from her past? She stood gripping the blade, but the woods remained silent, mocking her fear. Slowly she exhaled, forcing her hand to relax. The forest wasn't her enemy, not yet. From the cabin, Ethan watched her silhouette by the creek, a lone figure against the endless white. He saw her pause, her stillness a mirror to the wounded creatures he'd known. "She's searching for something," he thought, turning to his camera feed. His breath caught as the screen flickered, showing Phantom prowling nearby, his amber eyes fixed on the same spot where Nora stood. The wolf didn't approach, didn't growl, just watched, as if sensing a kindred spirit. Ethan leaned closer, a spark of hope igniting. Two souls, scarred and wary, drawn to the same wild heart of the Bitterroot. As Nora sat on the rock, gazing into the forest, a distant howl broke the silence, raw and piercing. Phantom's call, though she didn't know it, sent a shiver down her spine, stirring something deep within, a flicker of connection, a whisper of the wind carried the sound, weaving it into the trees, a promise of trials yet to come. Nora's hand rested on her dagger, but her eyes softened, fixed on the horizon. The forest was watching, waiting, and in its shadows a story was beginning, one of healing, danger, and a bond that would change everything. Dawn broke over the forest, cloaking Ethan Caldwell's cabin in a thick shroud of mist. 200 meters away, near a trickling creek, he'd carved out a sanctuary for Phantom, a rugged patch of wilderness, its uneven terrain and dense pines, perfect for a wolf to roam free. No fences hemmed it in, only low wooden markers, a nod to the wolf's need for liberty. Hidden in the trees, 3 infrared cameras stood sentinel, their lenses trained on the creek's edge. The air was alive with the murmur of water and the sigh of wind. But beneath the morning's calm lurked a wildness, a reminder that danger was never far in these woods. Ethan had spent the night rigging the cameras, their feeds wired to a monitor in his cabin. He'd scattered rabbit meat near the creek, careful to mask his scent, knowing Phantom's sharp senses would catch any trace of man. He needs freedom, Ethan scribbled in his notebook, flashlight in hand, but I need to know he's safe. His words were a vow, a delicate balance between trust and vigilance. By mid-morning, a battered jeep rolled up to the cabin, carrying Lila Bennett, a 38-year-old biologist, with a reputation for unraveling the secrets of gray wolves. Her blonde hair was pulled tight, her stride brisk, her confidence born of years tracking packs in Yellowstone. Ethan had called her through a mutual friend, needing her expertise for a wolf as fierce as Phantom. Never dealt with one this wild, she admitted, slinging a backpack stuffed with recording gear and a tablet over her shoulder. They trekked to the observation zone, Lila nodding at Ethan's setup. Good work, she said, checking the camera's angles, but wolves like this, they rarely trust humans. She settled on a rock 50 meters out, binoculars in hand, scribbling notes on the snow-dusted tracks crisscrossing the creek. At noon, Phantom emerged, a silver-gray specter under the weak sunlight. His limp betrayed the old trap wound, but his amber eyes burned with defiance, scanning the zone with predatory precision. He sniffed Ethan's bait, then froze, hackles rising as if sensing a trap. Lila shifted, her boots snapping a twig, and Phantom's head whipped toward her, a guttural growl ripping through the silence. His stare pinned her, teeth bared, every muscle coiled. Lila held still, heart pounding, the air electric with tension. He's not just scared, she whispered, jotting on her tablet. He's calculating, he trusts no one. For 3 hours Lila sat motionless, willing Phantom to accept her presence. But the wolf kept his distance, never closer than 30 meters, his eyes never leaving her. She edged forward once, placing a piece of meat nearer, but Phantom's snarl was instant, fierce, forcing her back. This is the toughest case I've ever seen, she told Ethan later back at the cabin, her voice a mix of awe and doubt. His memories of humans are poison. Keeping him here's a risk, especially with poachers out there. She suggested a distant sanctuary, a safer bet, but Ethan shook his head. He's not a lost cause, he said, his voice steady. He needs a chance to prove he's more than a threat. That outside, a short, piercing howl cut through the wind, Phantom's voice both defiant and alive. Ethan's jaw tightened, the memory of a poacher's boot print flashing in his mind. The wolf was here, but the hunt wasn't over. In the shadows of the bitter root, trust was a fragile thing, and Phantom's story was far from finished. The forest bathed in the golden haze of a fading afternoon, its towering pines casting long shadows across the snow. The air was still, save for the gentle ripple of the creek and the rustle of leaves, a quiet symphony that masked the wild heart beating beneath the calm. 200 meters from Ethan Caldwell's cabin, the observation zone felt like another world, isolated and alive with secret. The creek's murmur blended with the forest's breath. A danger lingered in the silence, a reminder that this was a place where the untamed ruled. Nora Hayes, on her 3rd day at the cabin, stepped into this hidden realm, unaware of the eyes watching her from the shadow. Restlessness had driven her from the cabin that afternoon. The nightmares, explosions, screams, the weight of lost comrades, had clung to her like smoke, and the forest promised escape. Nora, 32 and scarred by war, slung her backpack over her shoulder, her dagger tucked close, a relic of a life left behind, and her gray eyes, haunted and weary, flickered with a soldier's vigilance. As she followed the creek, drawn to a flat rock near the observation zone, she sat, her breath slowing, the forest's vastness soothing the chaos in her mind. For the first time since arriving, she felt a flicker of pain, as if the trees could hold her pain at bay. A faint snap of a twig shattered the calm. Nora's hand flew to her dagger, her body tensing, heart racing as she scanned the underbrush. 30 meters away, a figure emerged, not a man but a wolf. Phantom stood motionless, his silver-gray coat glinting in the sunset, his amber eyes locking onto hers with a piercing intensity. He didn't growl, didn't charge, just watched, a predator sizing her up. Nora froze, the air thick with tension,
their gazes a silent duel. Her pulse hammered, memories of war flashing in, gunfire, chaos. But she held her ground, sensing something beyond threat in those eyes. A connection, fragile and unspoken, sparked in the stillness. Fear clawed at her, the weight of P.T. Bell threatening to pull her under. But Nora fought. She closed her eyes, her voice trembling as she began to sing, a soft, quavering rendition of the Willow Song, a folk tune her mother once hummed. The notes drifted through the forest, heavy with sorrow and yearning, not meant for the wolf but for herself, a shield against the ghosts in her mind. As the melody unfolded, her racing heart slowed, the images of smoke and ruin fading. She sang for peace, for survival, her voice a fragile thread weaving through the tree. Phantom, who'd let out a low growl at her arrival, fell silent, his ears pricked, head tilting as if caught by the strange mournful sound. Slowly he sank to the ground, 30 meters away, his amber eyes softening from wary to curious. The change was subtle, his hackle smoothed, his breathing eased, his body still but no longer poised to flee. For the first time the wolf didn't see a threat, only a presence that spoke to his own scar. In the cabin, Ethan hunched over his camera feed, his coffee forgotten as the screen flickered to life. Nora and Phantom filled the frame, separated by distance, but bound by something intangible. Ethan's breath caught. Phantom wasn't snarling, wasn't bolting, as he had with Lila. The wolf's ears tilted toward Nora's voice, his body relaxed in a way Ethan hadn't seen. "She's doing what Lila couldn't," he muttered, scribbling in his notebook. The veteran untrying reached him, Phantom's listening. Hope flared in his chest, but so did worry. Nora was too close to a wild wolf, and the poacher's boot print still haunted him. He needed more cameras, needed to warn her, but not yet, not when she'd found this moment of calm. Nora's song ended, and she opened her eyes, startled to find Phantom still there, his gaze no longer fierce but inquisitive. She stopped and he rose, stepping back but not fleeing, his caution tempered by curiosity. "You're scared too, aren't you?" she whispered, her voice barely audible, a recognition of their shared wounds. The forest held its breath, the moment delicate, a thread of understanding woven between them. Ethan replayed the footage, noting Phantom's breathing, 20% slower than with Lila, a scientific whisper of trust. Nora could be the key, he thought, but danger loomed if she got too close. The poacher was still out there, a shadow in the trees. As Nora rose, moving slowly back to the cabin, Ethan watched the feed. Phantom followed her path, not stalking but trailing, keeping a deliberate distance as if drawn to it. A chill ran through him. A connection was forming, fated, inevitable. Nora walked under the dying light, a weight lifting from her chest, though she couldn't name why. Her eyes scanned the forest, searching for the wolf she didn't yet know. A short howl pierced the dusk, solitary yet vibrant, Phantom's voice echoing from the shadows. Nora paused, her heart stirring, the cell to call to something new. The bitter root was alive, watching, and in its depths a bond was taking root. Morning draped the forest in a heavy veil of fog, the observation zone near the creek swallowed by a ghostly haze. 200 meters from Ethan Caldwell's cabin, this patch of wilderness felt like another realm, its icy air sharp with the creek's soft murmur, and the snow's faint crunch underfoot. Dim light pierced the canopy, illuminating Phantom's tracks, each print a fleeting mark of a king ruling a fragile domain. The zone's isolation was palpable, close enough to the cabin for hope, yet far enough to belong to the wild, where danger whispered in the wind. Lila Bennett stepped into this tense quiet, determined to bridge the gap to a wolf who trusted no one. On her fourth day, Lila returned, a bag of fresh venison slung over her shoulder, her blonde hair tied tight, her biologist's precision undeterred by past failure.
She checked the infrared cameras, their lenses hidden among the pines, and jotted notes on her tablet, cataloging Phantom's wary habits. "If he eats, it's a start," she told Ethan, her voice steady but edged with doubt. "But I'm not holding my breath." She moved with care, placing the meat on a flat rock 10 meters from the creek, erasing her scent before retreating to watch, her binoculars steady, her breath fogging in the cold. Phantom appeared from the underbrush, a silver-gray shadow, his amber eyes slicing through the mist. His limp lingered, a scar from the poacher's trap, but his gaze was razor-sharp, sweeping the zone for threats. He sniffed the venison, then froze, hackles rising. A low growl rumbling as he sensed Lila's presence. The air crackled with tension as he stalked to the rock, only to swipe the meat to the ground with a single defiant paw, his rejection a silent rebuke of human intent. Lila's heart sank, the wolf's defiance, a wall she couldn't breach. Then rage took hold. Phantom's eyes caught the glint of a camera lens hidden nearby, and he lunged, teeth and claws tearing at the device. The camera crashed to the snow, its lens shattered, as Phantom let out a short challenging howl, a warning that echoed through the tree. He vanished into the forest, leaving claw marks gouged in the earth, a message of unrelenting resistance. Lila, watching from her perch, scribbled furiously. Her awe tinged through. "He's not just afraid," she wrote. "He's fighting back." Back at the cabin, Lila faced Ethan, her voice heavy. "Phantom's untamable," she said, shaking her head. "His hatred for humans runs deep. Keeping him here's too dangerous. He could turn, especially with poachers lurking." She suggested a distant sanctuary, or worse, euthanasia, though the words tasted bitter. Ethan's jaw tightened, but before he could respond his phone buzzed. Henry Walsh, a local vet and old colleague, was on the line. His tone stirred. "I heard about your wolf," Henry said, citing Phantom's attack on a rescue worker and the legal risks if he harmed anyone. "Put him down, Ethan. It's the only way." The pressure closed in, Lila's doubts and Henry's warning tightening the noose around Phantom's fate. Ethan stood firm, his eyes flashing with resolve. "I've seen him change," he said to Lila, his voice low but unyielding. "With Nora he listened. If she can reach him, we can too." He remembered the wolf's calm under Nora's song, a spark of trust no one else had kindled. He'd add more cameras, watch closer, but he wouldn't give up, not yet. And he'd keep Nora's role quiet, shielding her from the weight of their hopes. That night Ethan sat by the fire, replaying Nora's video, the wolf's softened gaze of fragile promise. A branch snapped outside, sharp and close, jerking him upright. Poacher? Something else? His pulse quickened, the forest shadows hiding threats he couldn't name. On the monitor, Phantom prowled, alive, defiant. A distant howl broke the silence. Proud and solitary, a testament to survival. Ethan gripped his notebook, hope flickering against the awe. Phantom was still here, but the fight was far from over, and in the Bitterroot depths, trust remained a dangerous gamble. The Bitterroot forest cloaked Ethan Caldwell's cabin in the cold embrace of a late afternoon. The sun sinking low, painting the sky in hues of frost and fire. Smoke curled from the chimney, drifting into the air, a fragile thread of warmth against the gathering tension. The wind hissed through the pines, carrying the sound of uninvited guests, and Ethan's gut tightened, sensing trouble as palpable as the chill. The fight to save Phantom, the gray wolf he'd sworn to protect, was about to face its fiercest test. A pickup truck roared into view, followed by a sheriff's cruiser, their headlights slicing through the dusk. Victor Kane, a towering 60-year-old landowner, stepped out, his chiseled face hard with resolve, his deep voice a thunderclap of authority. Beside him, Sheriff Lucas Reed, 50 and steady, wore a calm but stern expression, caught between duty and the weight of Victor's influence. Ethan met them on the porch, his silver hair catching the fading light, his weathered features masking the storm brewing within. Victor's presence was a threat, and Lucas's neutrality offered little comfort. "You're harboring a menace, Caldwell," Victor barked, slamming a fist on his truck's hood. He accused Phantom of slaughtering 2 of his cattle, a claim thin on evidence but thick with fury. "That wolf's a danger to my herd, to everyone around here. You're out of your mind keeping it so close." His voice rose, sharp and unyielding, insisting Lucas order the wolf's death immediately. Ethan stood firm, his gaze steady. "Here's no proof Phantom did it," he countered. "No tracks, no signs, just rumors." Victor's eyes narrowed, his patience fraying, but Ethan saw the lack of substance in the accusation, a grudge dressed as justice. Lucas, ever the mediator, spoke even. "I've got to investigate any threat to public safety, Ethan," he said, referencing Phantom's past attack on a rescue worker. "If that wolf harms anyone, I'll have no choice but to put him down. You could be liable." He revealed Victor's formal complaint to the county council, demanding an inspection of the observation zone, a move that tightened the noose around Ethan's effort. The sheriff's words were measured, But the pressure was clear, a ticking clock that threatened to crush Phantom's fragile chance at freedom. Victor leaned in, his cold stare boring into Ethan. "If that beast touches my stock or anyone else, I'll sue you into the ground," he growled, his wealth and influence a looming specter. "You're playing with fire, Caldwell." The air crackled with menace. Victor's threat not just legal, but personal, hinting at actions beyond the law. Ethan's pulse quickened, but he held his ground, his voice calm but ironclad. "Phantom hasn't hurt a soul since I brought him here," he said. "He's smart, not savage. Give me a chance to prove it." He recalled the wolf's quiet moment under Nora's song, a glimmer of trust that fueled his resolve. "I'm not keeping him to cause trouble. I'm keeping him to show he deserves to live." Drawing a breath, Ethan made his plea. "Give me 2 weeks," he told Lucas, his eyes unwavering. "I'll prove he's no threat. I'll tighten monitoring, work with Lila. If there's no progress, I'll consider a sanctuary." The words tasted bitter. He'd never abandoned Phantom, but they bought time. Lucas hesitated, weighing the risks, then nodded. 2 weeks, he said, his tone firm. "One incident, and we act." Victor scoffed unconvinced and stormed to his truck. 2 weeks, Caldwell, he spat, his glare icy through the window. "If that wolf steps out of line, I'll handle it myself." Lucas clapped Ethan's shoulder, murmuring, "I hope you're right about him," before driving off, leaving Ethan alone with the weight of their word. Ethan stood on the porch, watching the taillights vanish, the forest silence pressing against him. The 2-week deadline felt like a noose, Victor's threat a shadow that wouldn't fade. He turned to his monitor, the grainy feed showing Phantom by the creek, his amber eyes sharp as if he sensed the storm circling him. Ethan's hope flickered, tethered to Nora's fleeting connection with the wolf, a fragile thread in a darkening world. A branch snapped in the distance, sharp and ominous, jolting him. Poacher, Victor's men. The forest held its secrets tight, and Ethan's grip on his notebook tightened, resolve battling fear. A long, defiant howl rose, Phantom's voice cutting through the night, proud and unbound. The wolf was alive, but the fight was far from over, and in the bitter roots' shadows, danger waited to strike. The forest buckled under the fury of an unexpected blizzard, a late afternoon storm that swept through with a vengeance, its winds roaring like jet engines, snow falling in blinding sheets that reduced visibility to mere feet. The temperature plummeted below -10°C, the pines groaning under the gale's assault, their branches snapping like brittle bones. The air was a chaotic symphony of howling gusts and shattering wood, a testament to the raw, untamed power of the wilderness. Ethan Caldwell's cabin, isolated deep in the Montana woods, stood as a lone beacon against the tempest, its warmth a fragile shield against the storm's wrath. 200 meters away, the observation zone, Phantom's domain, was a world apart, swallowed by the blizzard's chaos, setting the stage for a trial that would test the limits of courage and trust. Inside the cabin, Nora Hayes sat by the fire, her gray moon eyes restless, haunted by the ghosts of war. The howling wind outside stirred memories, explosions, screams, the weight of loss, and she fidgeted, unable to shake the unease. Her gaze drifted to Ethan's monitor, the infrared feed flickering with a grainy image that stopped her cold. Phantom, the gray wolf she glimpsed days before, was pacing frantically near the creek, his ears pinned. Hackles, the wings shriek, Nora realized, mimicked the snap of traps and the crack of gunfire, echoes of the poacher's cruelty that had scarred him. Her heart raced, her own trauma-eyed blasts fallen comrades, mirroring the wolf's fear. "He's like me," she whispered, a surge of empathy overriding her dread. She couldn't let him face this alone. Without a word to Ethan, Nora moved with a soldier's resolve. She donned a waterproof jacket, pulled on a wool cap and grabbed her dagger, the blade a tether to her path. Ignoring the ache in her scarred arm, she pushed open the cabin door, stepping into the storm's icy grip. The blizzard swallowed her, snow stinging her face, vision reduced to a white void. "I can't leave him out there," she muttered, her voice lost in the wind, her decision as reckless as it was brave. The forest was a maze of peril, but the connection she felt to Phantom, two souls bound by fear, drove her forward. Nora battled the storm, her boots flipping on frozen ground, snow caking her lashes. She followed Phantom's faint tracks toward a rocky outcrop near the creek, her soldier's instincts guiding her through the chaos. A short panicked howl cut through the wind, Phantom's cry a beacon in the dark, urging her on, but a nearby branch snapped,
sharp and deliberate, and Nora's hand tightened on her dagger, her pulse spiking. Was it a poacher, drawn by the storm's cover? She pressed on, heart pounding, nearly tumbling when her foot skidded on an ice-slick rock. The forest was no ally, its dangers as real as her memories of war, but she refused to turn back. At last she reached a small cave near the observation zone, its mouth barely visible through the snow. Inside, Phantom cowered, his soaked fur plastered to his trembling frame, his amber eyes wild with terror, poised to flee or fight. He let out a weak growl as Nora's flashlight beam caught him, retreating deeper into the cave, his strength sapped by fear and cold. The light cast his shadow large against the stone, amplifying the tension as if the wolf might lash out at any moment. Nora's breath hitched, but she saw his fear a mirror to her own. A new force wouldn't work. She sank to the ground 5 meters away, snow seeping through her clothes, and began to sing. Her voice, shaky but resolute, carried the willow song, the same folk tune that had once calmed Phantom. The notes rose above the storm's roar, a gentle thread of sorrow and hope, weaving through the cave. Nora sang not for the wolf but for herself, pushing back the war's echoes, gunfire screams with each trembling verse. Her focus sharpened, the act of singing a lifeline pulling her from the brink of her own panic. She felt the weight of her trauma lift, if only for a moment, her heart steadying as the song became a vow to save them both. Phantom's growls faded, his ears twitching, head tilting as the melody reached him. His amber eyes, her song, a fragile bridge, had touched a part of him no one else had reached, forging a bond born of shared scars. Nora finished, her voice trailing off, and extended a hand, palm up, unmoving, letting Phantom choose. The cave was silent, the storm's roar a distant hum, as the wolf sniffed the air, then crept forward. In a heartbeat, his cold muzzle brushed her palm, a fleeting profound gesture of trust. Nora's eyes blurred with tears, the warmth of his breath a lifeline, a shared understanding of fear and hope binding them. We're in this together, she thought, her heart swelling, the moment a turning point neither could have foreseen. But the quiet shattered, a flash-like beam sliced through the snow, heavy footsteps crunching closer, breaking the cave's sanctity. Phantom's hackles rose, a fierce growl rumbling as he backed away, eyes blazing. Nora gripped her dagger, her pulse hammering, fearing a poacher had tracked them. The beam swept past, not lingering, but the threat hung heavy, a reminder of the dangers stalking the forest. "Stay quiet," she whispered, her military training kicking in as she signaled Phantom to retreat deeper into the cave. The wolf followed, closer than ever, his trust in her a silent vow to face this threat together. In the cabin, Ethan's heart sank as he realized Nora was gone. The camera feed showed her vanishing into the storm, Phantom's panicked flight toward the cave a clue to her path. "Damn it, Nora," he muttered, pulling on his coat, ready to brave the blizzard.
But the storm's ferocity pinned him inside, the wind a wall he couldn't breach. His hands shook, fear for Nora mingling with dream of poachers, their shadows ever present. He clung to the monitor helpless, praying she'd survive the night. Deep in the cave, Nora and Phantom huddled, the flashlight's glow fading, the storm's howl unrelenting. The wolf lay close, his amber eyes steady, granting her a space in his world for the first time. Nora hugged her knees, her breath mingling with his, their shared warmth a defiance of the cold. "We'll be okay," she whispered. More to herself than him, her courage forged anew. A short howl broke from Phantom, resilient and hopeful, echoing through the stone, under the blizzard's wrath. They'd found each other, two wounded souls bound by trust. But the storm raged on, and in the bitter root's frozen heart, danger waited, its shadow looming over their fragile bond. The forest woke to a fragile calm, the morning after the blizzard cloaking its pines in a thick blanket of fresh snow. Sunlight, weak but persistent, filtered through the canopy, casting a serene glow over the observation zone near the creek, 200 meters from Ethan Caldwell's cabin. The storm's scars lingered, broken branches, Phantom's chaotic tracks, but a hushed stillness settled over the wilderness, as if the forest held its breath after the chaos. This isolated pocket, a world apart from the cabin's warmth, pulsed with the promise of something extraordinary, a deepening bond between a wounded wolf. Nora Hayes rose early, her heart still racing from the night before, when Phantom's muzzle had brushed her hand in the storm-lit cave. The memory stirred a strange peace, a balm to the war-torn corners of her mind. She packed a backpack, water, a protein bar, her dagger, and stepped into the snow, her gray Ulysse a mix of caution and hope. The forest's quiet felt like a gift, easing the weight of her PTSD, the echoes of explosions and screams fading as she followed the creek to the cave. He needs me, she thought, her steps deliberate, driven by a connection she couldn't yet name. Phantom lay near the cave's entrance, his silver-gray coat dusted with snow, his amber eyes sharp but calm, no growl rising at her approach. Nora knelt 2 meters away, her breath catching as she noticed his foreleg, the old track wound inflamed by snow and mud. "Let me see," she whispered, extending a hand slowly, her voice a soft anchor. The air tensed, a heartbeat of doubt, but Phantom only flinched slightly, letting her touch his leg. Her fingers, steady despite the cold, wiped the wound clean with a cloth. The wolf's trust a fragile miracle. Nora's chest tightened, the moment a leap forward, a bridge built on shared scar. She stayed close, her whispers shifting from reassurance to storytelling. "You're stronger than you know," she murmured, her words a gentle cadence, like a tale told to a friend. Phantom sank to the ground, head resting on his paws, his gaze softening as if her presence were a shield against the world's cruelties. The forest seemed to lean in, the creeks murmur a witness to their growing bond. Nora sat still, letting him roam the space freely, her patience a silent vow to honor his wildness without chains. Ethan, sleepless with worry after Nora's storm-bound absence, followed her tracks to the cave. A flashlight and first aid kit in hand, he froze at the sight of Nora and Phantom, a quiet tableau of trust. She waved him closer, and he approached heart-pounding, stopping 5 meters away. Phantom lifted his head, eyes wary but silent, no snarl breaking the calm. "You've done the impossible," Ethan whispered, sinking beside her, awestruck. Nora's presence had tamed the untamable, a bridge to a wolf who'd shunned all others. Lila Bennett arrived soon after, summoned by Ethan's urgent call, her tablet and recorder ready to capture Phantom's ship. From a distance she watched, stunned, as Nora tended the wolf's wound, and Ethan sat unthreatened. "This is a turning point," she scrawled, her voice hushed. "He trusts her." Lila, who'd failed to reach Phantom with science, saw the truth. Nora's unforced gentleness, free of bait or tools, had cracked the wolf's defenses in ways her method never could. "I was wrong," she admitted later. "Nora didn't push. That's the key." Olivia Grant, Nora's therapist, joined them, her notebook open, eyes keen with insight. Watching Nora murmur to Phantom, she spoke of parallel processing, a healing dance where 2 scarred souls lifted each other through quiet presence. "Nora's become a safe harbor for him," Olivia said, "and he's helping her rebuild her own." The words struck Ethan, Lila nodding in agreement. "This is unprecedented," she said, her voice thick with respect. "Phantom's attacked, destroyed, yet here he is, calm. Nora's courage in that storm didn't just save him, it's saving her." Ethan, inspired, mapped out a plan. More cameras, warning signs to fend off poachers, a shield for Nora and Phantom. Victor Kane's threats and the hunter's shadow loomed, the storm's chaos a magnet for unwanted eyes. "Nora's given us a shot," he told Lila and Olivia, his voice firm. "Now we protect them both." The forest, though calm, held its dangers, and Ethan's resolve burned bright against the odds. Nora rose, stepping back to let Phantom slip into the trees, their eyes meeting in a silent pact to carry on. As Ethan, Lila and Olivia left the cave, a strange boot print in the snow caught Ethan's eye, a chilling hint that the poacher still watched. His pulse quickened, the forest's peace a thin veil over peril. Phantom climbed a rock, his amber gaze trailing Nora, and let out a howl, soft yet resolute, a song of new beginnings. The bond was forged, but the bitter root shadows whispered of trials yet to come, a test for 2 souls bound by trust. Dawn painted Ethan Caldwell's cabin in soft gold, the forest stirring under a melting sheen of snow. The air was crisp, alive with birdsong and the distant murmur of the creek near Phantom's observation zone, but the cabin's solitude, a sanctuary for Nora and the wolf, felt fragile, pierced by the rumble of an approaching car. The world beyond the pines was closing in, its gaze drawn to a story. The quiet, once a shield for Nora's pain and Phantom's wariness, now trembled under the weight of unwanted attention, a tide that could lift or drown their fragile bond. Daniel Holt, a 40-year-old reporter from the Bitterroot Gazette, stepped from his car, his friendly smile masking a journalist's hunger. Armed with a recorder and notebook,
He'd caught wind of the blizzard night miracle, Nora and Phantom's connection, and wanted a story to inspire his reader. Ethan met him on the porch, his silver hair glinting, his weathered face guarded. "This isn't a hero's tale," he warned, voice low but firm. "It's personal, a wolf and a woman finding their way," he shared sparingly. Phantom, a scarred survivor; Nora, a veteran easing his fear without force. When Daniel pressed about the wolf's danger, Ethan's eyes flashed. "He hasn't hurt anyone," he said, but his glance betrayed worry. Victor Kane's threats a shadow in his mind. He shielded Nora's name, insisting she wanted no spotlight, wary of turning their struggle into a symbol. By afternoon another visitor arrived, Sophie Kane, Victor's 28-year-old daughter, her brown hair framing a gentle face, unlike her father's stern resolve. She carried a book, Spirits of the Wild, its pages filled with gray wolf photographs, a gift for Nora. "I heard what you did in the storm," Sophie said, her voice warm. "This might help you understand him." Nora, still guarded, took the book with a nod, her gray mauve eyes softening as she traced the images, sensing Sophie's sincerity. On the porch, away from Ethan's ear, Sophie urged Nora to keep protecting Phantom. "He's not a threat if you see him right," she said, then whispered a secret. Victor's hatred stemmed from a decade-old loss, a beloved hunting dog killed by a wolf. "He's not cruel," Sophie confided. "He's just afraid of losing more. I want to help you prove Phantom's different." Her words, a quiet rebellion against her father, forged a small but vital connection, a spark of hope in Nora's guarded heart. That evening Ethan's phone buzzed, Victor's voice crackling with rage. "I know about your little interview," he snarled, branding it a stunt to save the wolf. "The council meets soon. Caldwell. That beast dies or you're done." His threat of lawsuits hung heavy, the 2-week deadline shrinking under his fury. Ethan stayed calm, but his grip on the phone tightened, the pressure mounting like a storm. Victor's anger wasn't just about cattle, it was personal, a wound Sophie's words had laid bare. Ethan sat by the fire, replaying Nora's storm-lit moment with Phantom, the wolf's calm a fragile promise. "Nora's the key," he wrote in his notebook. "If she can change him, maybe even Victor can shift." The hope felt thin, but it was all he had. Nora, alone in her room, pored over Sophie's book, her eyes lingering on a wolf's piercing gaze, a mirror to her own resilience. The images strengthened her resolve, a quiet vow to stand by Phantom. Ethan, at the window, caught a faint sound, a branch snapping or footsteps, and his pulse quickened. Poachers still lurked, their threat as real as Victor's wrath. The forest held its secrets close, a reminder that safety was fleeting. Phantom's howl rose, proud and solitary, cutting through the dusk. It was a call of survival, echoing Nora's own fight, but it carried a warning. Their story was spreading, drawing eyes and dangers to the Bitterroot's heart. The bond between woman and wolf was growing, but the world's gaze brought peril, and in the shadows the hunt was far from over. The forest stirred under a soft dawn, its pines dripping with melting snow, the morning light weaving a fragile calm over the observation zone near the creek. 200 meters from Ethan Caldwell's cabin, this secluded haven felt like a sacred space, its quiet pierced only by the creek's gentle ripple and the chatter of sparrows. Yet beneath the serenity, a subtle tension lingered, as if the forest concealed unseen threats in its shadow. Here Nora Hayes and Phantom the Grey Wolf were forging a bond that defied the wild's harsh rules, their connection a quiet revolution in a world of danger and distrust. Nora rose with the sun, her heart steadier than it had been since the days of tending to Phantom had kindled a strength she'd thought lost, each moment with the wolf chipping away at the walls of her PT.
She packed her backpack, clean cloths, water, a tube of antibiotic cream from Ethan, and set out, her steps sure, her grayish eyes less haunted. The forest's embrace felt like a mirror to her soul, its vastness echoing the silent pain she shared with Phantom. He gets it, she thought, the wolf, her only companion who understood the weight of unspoken scars. At the cave, Phantom waited, his silver gray coat catching the dawn's glow, his amber eyes, sharp but unguarded, no growl greeting her approach. Nora knelt a meter away, her breath steady as she checked his foreleg, the trap's old wounds still tender. "You'll be fine," she whispered, her voice hoarse, trembling with the weight of words she hadn't spoken since the IED blast stole her voice and her squad. "I know you're strong." The words were a breakthrough, each syllable a bridge from her past to a fragile hope. Fear and freedom surged within her, her voice a lifeline, tethering her to the present as she cleaned his wound with gentle hand. Phantom tensed at first, a flicker of instinct, but his ears flicked forward, his gaze softening under her voice's familiar cadence. He kept to the ground, mere steps away, his head resting on his paws, eyes half closed in a rare display of ease, his breathing slowed, his fur smoothed, the wolf's trust a quiet marvel. A testament to Nora's unyielding patience. "You fought so hard, haven't you?" Weaving a space where fear had no hold, the forest seemed to listen, the creeks murmur a chorus to their unspoken pact, a bond forged in shared survival. From the cabin, Ethan watched the camera feed, his coffee forgotten as Nora's voice filled the frame. Phantom lay calm, closer than ever, his ease a stark contrast to the snarls he'd shown Lila. Nora speaks. Phantom listens, Ethan scribbled, his voice a hushed awe. The gap between them is gone, this is a miracle. The wolf surrendered to Nora's presence, his body relaxed in ways Ethan hadn't seen, spark a hope he hadn't dared nurture. Nora, without trying, had become the key to Phantom's heart, her gentle persistence, a light in the wild's darkness. Through Rachel Moore, Nora's therapist, arrived at Ethan's call, her warm demeanor masking a sharp mind. At 45, she carried a notebook, her eyes keen as she watched Nora murmur to Phantom from a distance. "She's speaking," Rachel said, her voice soft with wonder. "She's avoided words for months. That wolf's her catalyst, breaking her silence." She spoke of parallel processing, a dance of healing where two wounded beings lifted each other through quiet trust. "Nora's a safe harbor for him," she told Ethan, "and he's teaching her to feel safe again. They're mending together." Her words landed like a revelation, underscoring the bond's profound duality, a wolf and a woman, saving each other from their path. Ethan leaned back, Rachel's insight fueling his belief. "If Nora can do this with Phantom," he said, his voice firm, "she could change how we see every broken creature." Victor Kane's threats and the poacher's shadow loomed, but Ethan resolved to protect this fragile progress, to shield Nora and Phantom from the storm circling them, Lila's warnings, the county's scrutiny. None could dim the spark he saw in Nora's quiet courage, in Phantom's newfound calm. Nora lingered by the cave, her voice stronger, each word a step away from the war's darkness. "You're helping me find myself," she whispered to Phantom, his amber eyes mirroring her resilience. The wolf blinked slowly, a silent acknowledgement, and Nora felt a weight lift her, her PTSD a fading echo replaced by purpose. The forest's calm enveloped her, a sanctuary where fear lost its grip, where she and Phantom stood as allies against their shared ghost. As she rose, letting Phantom slip into the trees, their eyes met, a silent vow to continue. Ethan, back at the cabin, caught a faint sound, a rustle, perhaps footsteps, and his pulse quickened. Poachers, Kane's men, the forest's peace was a thin veil, danger ever present. On the monitor, Phantom lounged on a rise, his gaze trailing Nora, his soft howl a gentle anthem of trust. The bond was deepening, a beacon of hope, but the bitter roots shadows whispered of threats. Victor's wrath, a hunter's patience, and Ethan knew the fight was far from won. The forest brooded beneath a brooding sky, heavy clouds rolling in as a fresh blizzard loomed, its icy gusts slicing through the pine. The observation zone near the creek, 200 meters from Ethan Caldwell's cabin, turned grim, a light snowfall, tension hung thick. The county council's impending meeting poised to rule on Victor Kane's demand to kill the wolf, tightening the noose around Ethan and Nora's fragile mission. With only days left, the forest's darkening heart pulsed with danger, and in the storm's shadow a deadly reckoning was at hand. A poacher, the same ghost who'd once ensnared Phantom, crept into the zone, his rifle gleaming with intent to claim the wolf's prized pelt. His flashlight pierced the dusk, and a warning shot shattered the silence, its cracks scattering birds and igniting panic. From the cave, Phantom's growl roared, a primal challenge echoing through the trees, heralding a clash that could end in blood. Memories of war, gunfire, screams, but she steeled herself, her gray-old eyes locking on Phantom's crouched form, his hackles bristling, poised to fight or flee. "We've got to go," she whispered, her voice a lifeline in the chaos. With the blizzard descending, she chose to lead Phantom to safety, her courage a defiant stand against the peril closing in. Nora signaled with a lowered hand, guiding Phantom along a narrow trail, weaving through trees and rocks to evade the poacher's beam. She moved with precision, her military training a shield as snow thickened, obscuring her path.
Stay with me, she murmured, her whispers steadying the wolf's tense strides. The storm's howl disoriented her, but Phantom's sharp fleeting howls cut through, a beacon in the turmoil. The forest was a treacherous labyrinth, its dangers sharpened by the blizzard's fury, yet Nora pressed on, driven by a bond forged in shared wounds, a vow to protect her companion. Catastrophe struck as they crossed an ice-slick ravine. Nora's boots slipped, her knee crashing into jagged stone, a deep gash tearing through her pants, blood soaking the fabric. Pain seared her, a gritted gasp escaping, as she struggled to rise, only to falter. Phantom halted, his amber eyes flickering with concern, as if sensing her weakness. The poacher's voice, "I know you're there, Wolf." Nora's hand tightened on her dagger, her heart hammering, the storm and pain blurring the line between survival and surrender. Then Phantom turned, a silver-gray sentinel planting himself between Nora and the threat. His hackles rose, a ferocious growl tearing from his throat, his eyes blazing with a fierce resolve, not blind aggression, but a calculated stand to shield her. The poacher emerged through the snow, his dark coat blending with the dusk, his facelet trembling as he raised his rifle aiming at Phantom. "You're done," he shouted, voice cracking with fear as the wolf's snarl deepened, teeth bared, muscles taut like a coiled spring. Phantom edged forward, his growl shifting to a low, relentless hum, a final warning that froze the hunter, his face paling as he stumbled back, a bullet slipping from his shaking hands to the snow, a symbol of his faltering nerve. Nora, despite her agony, gripped her dagger, ready to fight. But tears welled as she saw Phantom choose her over escape. "You're like them," she whispered, her mind flashing to fallen comrades who'd shielded her in battle, the wolf a soldier in her eyes. Nora, leaning against a rock, scraped her boot to draw the hunter's gaze, giving Phantom space to hold his ground, their silent teamwork a testament to their bond. A sudden gust whipped snow across the scene, the poacher's flashlight wavering, his aim faltering in the storm's chaos. Phantom seized the moment, shifting to block Nora further, his intelligence shining through, a warrior's tactic in a beast's form. Nora's heart swelled, the wolf's loyalty a mirror to her own resolve, their shared fight a defiance of fear. "We did it," she murmured, a quiet vow as the hunter's nerve crumbled under Phantom's unrelenting stare. At the cabin, Ethan's blood ran cold as a camera feed blinked out, the poacher's sabotage clear, followed by a gunshot's distant crack. "Nora's out there," he gasped, grabbing his coat and calling Lila Bennett, who'd arrived to check data, flashlight and first aid kit in hand. Lila joined him, their boots pounding through the snow. "She's with him," Ethan said, fear choking his voice, the blizzard a merciless foe. Lila wrestled with a radio, her signal to Sheriff Lucas Reed faint through the storm's static, urgency driving them into the wild's heart. Lucas, alerted by Lila's crackling call, sped to the zone, handcuffs and sidearm at the ready. He burst onto the scene as the poacher recoiled from Phantom's fury, his voice cutting through, "Drop it down." The hunter obeyed, cuff in moments, his pack revealing poaching tools, traps, pelts. Lucas turned to Nora, relief flooding him as he saw her alive. Bloodied, Phantom retreated, eyes vigilant but calm, his role as protector fulfilled. Ethan and Lila reached Nora, easing her onto a rock, bandaging her leg as she shivered, pain carving lines on her face. Phantom stood close, his amber gaze unwavering, a silent guardian. "Thank you," Nora whispered, her hand outstretched and the wolf's muzzle brushed her fingers, a tender reaffirmation of their bond. Tears fell, gratitude overwhelming. She saw not just a wolf but a comrade, who'd risked all for her. Nora rose, limping, and met Phantom's eyes, murmuring, "We made it," their shared triumph, a seal on their unspoken pact. Victor Kane, called by Lucas to witness the arrest tied to his complaints, arrived, his stern face faltering at the sight. Nora wounded and Phantom not attacking but shielding her. The wolf's devotion shattered his prejudice, forcing him to face his error. "I was wrong," he told Ethan, voice heavy with regret. "This wolf, it's not what I thought." He vowed to retract his complaint, a turning point born of awe and humility, his anger crumbling before the truth. Ethan, relief tempered by exhaustion, planned with Lila to fortify the zone, more cameras, tighter patrols with Lucas. Nora and Phantom proved the impossible, he said, resolve firm. "We keep them safe." Lila, scribbling notes, saw a scientific marvel in Phantom's act, vowing a report to immortality.
Ethan checked the cameras, spotting Phantom on a rise, eyes glinting, but a new track near the cave, a fresh threat, chilled him. The poacher was gone. Victor swayed, but danger lingered, a specter in the snow. Phantom's howl rose, long and proud, a anthem of life and victory. Resonating through the blizzard, Nora and her wolf had triumphed, but the bitter-root wild heart still thrummed with peril, their journey far from secure. The forest shimmered under a gentle morning sun, its snow-draped pines giving way to patches of green grass. The air alive with the creek's soft ripple and the whisper of wind through the trees. The observation zone, 200 meters from Ethan Caldwell's cabin, stood as a sacred ground, a place where Nora, Hayes, and Phantom, the gray wolf, had woven a bond of trust through trials of storm and danger. Yet beneath its tranquil surface, a fragile tension lingered, the forest poised for a pivotal moment. This was no ordinary morning. It was the stage for a secret observation, a quiet bid to secure Phantom's future and prove his place in a world that feared him. Sophie Kane, Victor's 28-year-old daughter, had orchestrated the event, her faith in Nora's courage after the poacher's attack sparking action. She'd rallied 3 respected conservationists from the Montana Wildlife Federation, keeping the gathering covert to dodge her father's allies and their objections. "You and Phantom can change how people see wolves," she told Nora, her voice warm with conviction. "Want them to see it." Nora, still guarded, agreed, sensing the stakes, protection from legal threats. And poachers hinged on this day. She arrived early, checking the cave and creek, whispering to Phantom to ease his nerves. Her stance was soldier steady, her gray wool eyes sharp, but her voice soft, a testament to the deep trust she'd built with the wolf. The observation began with cautious precision. 3 conservationists, 2 biologists, and a policy expert settled on folding chairs 50 meters from the cave, binoculars and recorders in hand. Sophie introduced Phantom's story, highlighting his protective act during the but warned of his wariness. Ethan stood near Nora, ready to intervene if the wolf bristled, while Lila Bennett filmed from afar, her lens capturing data for a scientific report. The air was taut, every rustle a potential spark, the forest holding its breath as Nora prepared to show the world what Phantom could be. Nora signaled Phantom with a subtle nod and the wolf emerged, his silver-gray coat glinting, amber eyes sweeping the strangers. His ears twitched, alert but not aggressive, his silence a stark contrast to the snarls he'd once hurled. He prowled the zone, sniffing the air, keeping a 30-meter distance, his movements deliberate, watchful but unthreatening. A conservationist dropped pen, clattered, and Phantom froze. Easy Boy softened his stance, his steps resuming with a calm that stunned the watchers. "He trusts her," a biologist murmured, scribbling furiously, the moment a testament to Nora's unspoken command. Under Nora's gentle guidance, Phantom settled by the creek, lying down, his eyes tracking the group, but his body relaxed, a sign he saw no threat. Nora stood 2 meters away whispering, "You're doing great," and the wolf blinked slowly, a rare gesture of ease that drew gasps. "I've never seen this," a conservationist whispered. "They're all palpable." Lila's notes raced. "Phantom's not just coexisting, he's choosing peace. This proves he can live near human." The scene was a quiet triumph. Nora and Phantom rewriting the narrative of a dangerous wolf, their bond a living proof of possibility. Victor Kane, persuaded by Sophie to attend unannounced, lurked at the zone's edge, his stern face etched with doubt, but as he watched Phantom's calm and Nora's steady presence, his skepticism cracked, his eyes shifting from suspicion to curiosity. "He's not a threat," he muttered, the words a surrender to truth. After the observation, Victor approached Ethan and Nora, his voice low, almost reverent. "I let fear rule me," he said. "This wolf, it's not what I thought." He pledged to withdraw his council complaint and offered funds for a small sanctuary for Phantom and other wolves. Inspired by Nora's courage, to Sophie, he said, "You were right. We need to protect what's left here." A reconciliation that marked his transformation, a bridge for enmity to alliance. Nora by the cave sat with Phantom, her heart light, his muzzle brushing her hand, their bond sealed in victory. She smiled faintly,
a rare warmth sensing a purpose beyond her pain. Ethan and Lila, buoyed by Victor's support, planned the sanctuary's future, but a snapped branch in the distance jolted Ethan, a hint of poachers or new threats lingering. The forest's calm was deceptive, danger ever present. Phantom climbed a rise, his amber eyes on Nora, his howl rising, proud yet tender, a song of triumph. Their victory was real, but the bitter roots, shadows held secrets, and Nora and Phantom's journey, though brighter, remained a battle unfinished. The forest lay under a pall of gloom, its pines swaying beneath a sky choked with dark clouds, the wind's icy wails slicing through the silence around Ethan Caldwell's cabin. Inside, the fire's glow cast a fragile warmth, a stark contrast to the ominous chill beyond, where shadows seemed to pulse with unseen menace. Days had passed since Nora Hayes and Phantom the Grey Wolf stunned conservationists with their bond, but their story's spread was a double-edged blade, drawing eyes that could shield or shatter their refuge. The cabin's solitude, once a sanctuary, now felt like a brittle fortress teetering on the edge of danger. Nora sat alone, her gray mule eyes shadowed, fingers tracing the scar on her arm, a jagged echo of an IED blast that stole her squad and her voice. Rifling through her backpack, she found a letter, its edges frayed, the handwriting trembling. It was from Sergeant James Carter, a comrade who'd survived that day in the Middle East. His words struck like shrapnel, a militant she'd hunted. Khalil had escaped prison, his vendetta fixed on her. "He's coming for me," she whispered, naming him, her voice cracking as panic surged. Memories of smoke, screams and fallen faces flooding her. Her hand crushed the paper, PTSD's grip tightening, her breath ragged. The letter's warning consumed her, fear of pursuit rising like a tidal wave, drowning her in dread. She imagined Khalil tracking her to this remote cabin, her haven now a trap. Standing by the window, she scanned the forest with a soldier's vigilance, each dark shape a potential threat, her mind conjuring his cold eyes from that desert standoff. Every sound, snapping twigs, the wind's howl, jerked her, Patricia weaving them into ambushes and explosions. "It's not real," she muttered, nails digging into the windowsill, clawing at reality to escape the war's ghosts. Yet her heart raced, torn between fleeing, grabbing her vanishing into the night, and staying for Phantom, the wolf whose amber gaze had become her strength. "If I go, we'll protect you," she whispered, picturing him, the pain of leaving him a knife in her chest. Phantom's stand in the storm flashed in her mind, his loyalty a spark in her darkness, urging her to face her fear as he had his. In her turmoil, Phantom was her anchor, a flickering light against the void. "You didn't run," she thought, resolve stirring. If he could defy his terror, so could she. That night, a nightmare gripped her. Khalil in the forest, his gun aimed not at her, but at Phantom. "No," she screamed, waking, drenched in sweat, the dream sharpening her conflict. Fleeing might save her, but Phantom was her reason to fight, a symbol of her resilience. "I won't lose you too," she vowed, staring into a mirror, her eyes the words a step toward reclaiming herself. Ethan, watching from the living room, saw Nora's retreat, her haunted gaze a silent alarm. "Something's wrong," he murmured, his silver hair catching the firelight, concern etching his weathered face. "Want to talk?" he offered, but Nora shook her head, her silence a wall. Later he found the crumpled letter, its words chilling, a hunter from her past, now a specter in their present. He held back, trusting her to open up, but doubled his camera checks, fearing poachers and now this new threat, his heart heavy with the stakes. Darkness fell, moonless and dense, the bitter root cloaked in an eerie hush, wind and owl cries weaving a sinister chorus. Nora, sleepless, sat by her window, dagger in hand, its weight a grim comfort. A soft crunch, footsteps on snow, snapped her to attention, her pulse spiking. A shadowy figure crept near the fence, a ghost from her fears. "Khalil," she breathed, gripping the blade. "PT leash." Then a growl tore through the night, fierce and primal, as Phantom erupted from the shadows, his amber eyes blazing like twin flames. He'd been prowling near the observation zone, his senses razor sharp, nose catching the intruder's scent. A backhoe, sharp and acrid, a ghost of war's smoke. With a roar he charged, silver gray fur bristling, a majestic force under the cabin's faint light. The stranger stumbled, his flashlight clattering, panic seizing him as he fell, a torn glove snagging on a branch. Phantom lunged to the side, cutting off his escape, forcing a frantic detour through thorns, his growl a relentless warning. The man fled, a glinting metal fragment, a blade's shard, left in the snow, hinting at darker intent. Phantom stood before the cabin, eyes unyielding, claiming this ground for Nora, his howl sharp and victorious, a warning to any who dared return. Nora behind the door, heart pounding, watched Phantom stand, her fear easing. "You're guarding me," she whispered, off softening her dread, the wolf's loyalty a shield. She stepped onto the porch, voice trembling. "Phantom, come here," he approached, muzzle brushing her hand, eyes calm, a quiet reassurance. Nora sank to the steps, Phantom beside her, his warmth thawing her panic. "You're always there, aren't you?" she murmured, tears falling. The wolf, her beacon against the night's terrors. "You're my light in the dark," she added, their bond a lifeline through her PTD's storm. Ethan, roused by the growl, rushed out, finding Nora and Phantom. The glove in the metal shard tightened his jaw. Poacher, or her hunter, the threat was real. "What happened?" he asked, gentle but urgent. Nora, voice shaking but firm, shared the letter's warning. "Khalil's pursuit." Ethan listened, heart aching, then vowed, "You're not alone, Nora. Phantom and I are here." He'd fortified defenses. "Call Sheriff Lucas Reed," his resolve unwavering. Nora met his gaze, Phantom's presence grounding her. "I've run long enough," she said, eyes sharp like the soldier she'd been. "If he comes, I'm ready, and Phantom's with me." Her dagger gleamed, her heart warmed by the wolf, fear yielding to courage. Ethan nodded, seeing her strength, and plan. Motion lights, hourly camera checks with Lila, patrols with Lucas. "They're stronger than I thought," he wrote. "Faith in Nora and Phantom, a bulwark." He gave Nora an alarm device, saying, "Press this and we're there, but I know you'll stand with him." Nora nodded, resolute. "I'll fight with Phantom first." Nora sat, the letter powerless, her gaze on the forest where Phantom prowled. Ethan saw him on a rise, eyes glinting, but a distant snap. The forest bloomed under a radiant morning sun, its snow-dusted pines parting to reveal patches of vibrant grass, the air alive with the creek's gentle ripple, and the chorus of birdsong. The observation zone 200 meters from Ethan Caldwell's cabin stood as a hallowed ground, a place where Phantom the gray wolf had transformed from a creature of fury to one of trust. Yet beneath the serene surface a faint tension lingered, the forest whispering of unreliable threat. This was no ordinary morning, it was a proving ground, a space where Phantom's integration with humanity hung in the balance. His bond with Nora Hayes, a beacon of hope. Lila Bent, stirred by Phantom's progress through Nora's gentle guidance, resolved to test his trust in others. She arrived with a slab of fresh venison, meticulously cleaned to mask human scent, her biologist precision honed by past failures. Checking the infrared cameras, she spoke to Ethan, her voice cautious yet hopeful. "If he eats, it's a sign he might trust beyond Nora." She placed the meat on a flat rock 5 meters from the cave, retreating 20 meters to watch through binoculars, her notebook ready. Phantom emerged, his silver gray coat gleaming, amber eyes scanning Lila, ears pricked. For the first time no growl rumbled, instead he approached slowly, sniffed the meat, and ate his caution unbroken, but his acceptance a milestone. "He's changing," Lila whispered, scribbling furiously. Her acceptance a milestone. "He's changing," Lila whispered, scribbling furiously. Her acceptance a milestone, a fragile victory in their quest. By noon, Nora arrived, her presence a quiet command, her gray mood, eyes soft with purpose. She decided to lead Phantom to a new area, a small branch of the creek, 100 meters. "You're finding yourself again, aren't you?" Nora murmured, her voice a mirror to her own healing, her PTSD's shadows receding as Phantom's confidence grew. He chased a rabbit briefly, not to kill but to frolic, glancing back at Nora as if to confirm her presence, then sprawled by a rock, his amber eyes calm, a testament to his trust in this new world. Nora sat a meter away, her heart steady, and reached out, her fingers grazing Phantom's silver fur, a bold yet respectful touch. The wolf flinched slightly, his eyes meeting hers, but he didn't pull away, allowing her to stroke his shoulder, a profound step in their bond. "You're letting me in," she whispered, tears glistening, the warmth of his fur a lifeline, their connection a quiet triumph over fear. The forest seemed to hold its breath, the creek's murmur a witness to this sacred moment, where trust bridged the wild and the human. From afar, Ethan and Lila watched through cameras and binoculars, their breath catching at Phantom's transformation. He'd eaten Lila's offering, and now permitted Nora's touch. Acts unthinkable weeks ago. "He's not just adapting," Lila wrote, her voice hushed with awe. "He's learning trust through Nora. This is unprecedented in wolf research." Ethan, his silver hair glinting, nodded, his voice thick. "Nora's done what we thought impossible. She and Phantom are rewriting everything." Their faith in the pair solidified, a spark of hope against the looming dangers. Ethan inspired bolstered their defenses, coordinating with Sheriff Lucas Reed to tighten patrols and add warning signs around the zone, his worry fueled by poachers and Nora's unseen enemy. "Phantom's a symbol of trust now," he scrawled in his notebook, "but we have to keep him safe." Lila urged sharing data with conservationists to strengthen Phantom's case, but Ethan insisted on secrecy, wary of drawing more attention. "We protect them first," he said, his resolve ironclad, the poacher's glove and Nora's letter heavy in his mind. Nora lingered by the creek, Phantom at her side, his amber eyes steady, their silent harmony a testament to their bond. She felt whole, her PTSD's grip loosening, Phantom's trust a mirror to her own rebirth. But Ethan, back at the cabin, froze at a distant sound, a branch snapping, footsteps perhaps, his pulse quickening. Poachers. The forest's calm was deceptive, its dangers ever present. Phantom rose, climbing a rise, his gaze on Nora, his howl short and tender, a song of newfound trust. Their progress was undeniable, a beacon in the wild, but the bitter roots shadows held threats unresolved, and Nora and Phantom's journey remained a battle yet to be won. The forest sprawled under a restless sky, its heart pulsing a kilometer beyond the familiar observation zone, where Nora Hayes led Phantom into a wilder, untamed expanse.
The terrain was rugged, a maze of jagged rocks and dense pines. The air thick with the raw scent of earth and freedom. Sunlight pierced the canopy, casting dappled glows on faint traces of an old wolf pack. Trampled grass, weathered claw marks echoed over Phantom's past life as an alpha. The wind's sigh mingled with a skitter of small creatures in the underbrush, a vibrant yet perilous symphony that underscored the daring of this journey. Here the forest was alive, its beauty laced with danger, a crucible for testing Phantom's reintegration into the wild. Nora, her gray eyes bright with purpose, saw Phantom's growing confidence and chose this moment to push further. "You're ready for this," she whispered, her voice a steady anchor as she packed a backpack with water. Her dagger and Ethan's simple map, her intent was clear, to rekindle Phantom's wild instincts while preserving the trust they'd forged. A vital step to prove he could thrive in nature without threatening humans. She spoke softly to the wolf, easing his nerves, her soldier's resolve tempered by a tenderness born of their bond. "Let's find your home," she murmured, her heart aligned with his, their shared journey of healing from trauma, a quiet undercurrent. Phantom followed, his steps light yet powerful, silver-gray fur shimmering as his amber eyes swept the forest. Ears pricked for every sound, he moved with a predator's grace. Alert but unafraid, pausing to sniff the pack's old trails, his paws digging, claws marking the earth as if reclaiming a lost legacy. Nora smiled, pride swelling as he leapt a narrow stream, chasing a squirrel with playful bounds, not to kill but to revel in the chase. "You're alive out here," she thought, his curiosity a mirror to her own rediscovery of freedom, her PTSD's shadows fading in the forest's embrace. Nora trailed a few meters behind, giving Phantom space to roam, her hand signals and whispers. "Good job you're owning this place," maintaining their silent connection. She noted his ease, no longer the tense creature near the cabin, and recalled Ethan's words, a wolf's integration balanced instinct and trust. "We're finding that balance," she thought, a kinship blooming as she felt her own constraints loosen. the war's echoes dimming in the wild's vastness. Their steps were a duet, two souls reclaiming their strength under the pines. Danger struck without warning, near a wide creek where the forest thickened. A massive black bear lumbered from the brush, 15 meters away, its eyes fierce, fur bristling, its growl rumbled, claws raking the earth. Perhaps drawn by a nearby kill but provoked by Nora and Phantom's presence, Nora's hand flew to her dagger, her heart pounding war's memories, calm for chaos, surging, yet she breathed deep, her soldier's calm taking hold, her mind sharp despite the fear. Phantom reacted instantly, surging forward to shield Nora, his silver fur a wall between her and the bear, his growl thundered, amber eyes blazing, ears pinned, body low, poised to strike yet restrained, a master of instinct and control. Nora's breath caught, gratitude flooding her as she saw him risk his life for hers, his courage a mirror to her own. "You're protecting me," she thought. Tears pricking but urgency snapped her focus. She had to act, drawing on her military training. Nora kept her voice low, signaling Phantom to retreat. "Easy, come with me," she whispered, stepping back slowly, eyes locked on the bear to avoid provocation. Phantom, still growling, followed, his trust in her absolute, their movements synchronized as they slipped through a narrow trail, trees shielding them. Nora exhaled, knees trembling. The forest's silence a fragile reprieve, safe by a large rock. Nora checked Phantom, finding no wounds. "You're incredible," she whispered, stroking his fur, their bond sealed tighter by the ordeal. Phantom lay down, eyes soft, breath steady as if aware he'd protected her without bloodshed, a rare feat for a wild wolf. "You didn't fight," Nora thought, awestruck, realizing this proved his ability to coexist, a milestone in his integration. Her heart swelled, their shared resilience alight against her PTSD. Back at the cabin, Nora recounted the encounter to Ethan and Lila, detailing Phantom's restraint, her voice steady with pride. Lila's eyes widened, her pen racing. "He trusts Nora and controls his instincts. This is the strongest evidence of his integration yet." She urged a report to conservationists, her excitement palpable. Ethan, his silver hair catching the firelight, grinned. "You and Phantom passed a test. No one expected," he said. "You're rewriting the rules for wild wolves." Their faith in the pair deepened, a beacon against the threat still lurking. Nora's resolve hardened, the encounter a turning point. "Phantom protected me," she told Ethan, her voice firm. "I'll protect him. Nothing stops us now." Her eyes, once shadowed by war, shone with purpose, her PTSD fading as she embraced her role as the wolf's guardian. "We're healing together," she thought, being into the forest, her heart warm with a mission that transcended her past. By afternoon, Nora sat by the creek, Phantom at her side, his amber eyes steady, their quiet harmony a testament to their triumph. Ethan, checking cameras, froze at a new track near the zone. Ethan or animal, a chilling hint of poachers or Nora's enemy, Khalil. The forest's peace was a thin veil, danger ever present. Phantom rose, climbing a ridge, his gaze on Nora, his howl fierce yet tender, a song of progress and vigilance. Their journey had soared, but the bitter root's shadows held secrets, and Nora and Phantom's fight was far from over. The forest shimmered in the morning light, its observation zone near the creek aglow with the promise of renewal. Snow had melted, unveiling lush green grass, while the sun's early rays danced on the water, blending with bird song to craft a serene yet fragile calm. Beneath this tranquility a subtle tension lingered, whispers of unresolved threats haunting the air. This was no ordinary dawn. It was a stage, a sacred ground where Nora Hayes and Phantom, the gray wolf, had forged trust through trials. Now poised to prove their bond could secure the wolf's future. In a world poised to judge him, Ethan Caldwell, buoyed by Phantom's progress and Victor Kane's newfound support, orchestrated a discreet gathering, inviting 5 conservationists from the Montana Wild Fair, Fashion, and 3 veterans from Nora's support program. He chose the observation zone, setting up folding chairs and a small screen displaying infrared camera data, ensuring secrecy to shield them from prying eyes. "This is their chance to show they belong here," he told Lila Bennett,
his silver hair catching the light, his voice thick with belief in Nora and Phantom's transformative power. Nora, though hesitant about crowds, agreed to participate, her gray mule eyes resolute, sensing the event's weight. Phantom's safety and the sanctuary's future hung in the balance. She arrived early, checking the cave, whispering to the wolf to ease his nerves, her focus on silent signals to showcase their trust. Her posture was steady, a soldier's poise softened by a gentle gaze, her confidence a testament to her journey beyond PTD. "We've got this," she murmured to Phantom, her heart aligned with his, ready to face the onlookers. The observation began, the air taut with anticipation. 5 conservationists, biologists and policy experts, sat 40 meters from the cave, notebooks and cameras in hand, joined by 3 veterans. Their eyes keen with shared understanding. Ethan offered a brief introduction, tracing Phantom's arc from feral to trusting, crediting Nora's role in his change. Lila stood ready with a camera, capturing every moment for science, while Sophie Kane ensured logistics ran smoothly, her quiet pride in Nora palpable. The forest held its breath, the stakes clear. This was a verdict on Phantom's place in the wild. Nora signaled with a gentle wave, and Phantom emerged, his silver-gray coat gleaming, amber eyes sweeping the crowd without a growl. She guided him through the zone with subtle gestures, a tilt of her head, a raised hand, and he followed, a loyal shadow, their movements, a seamless dance of trust. "They're in sync," a biologist whispered, scribbling, awestruck by their wordless harmony. Phantom roamed freely, sniffing the earth, marking with his claws, yet always circling back to Nora, his gaze tethered to her, a living testament to their bond. In a breathtaking moment, Phantom sank to the ground a meter from Nora, head resting on his paws, amber eyes soft, a relaxed pose unseen before strangers. "I've never witnessed this in a wild wolf," a conservationist muttered, stunned, while the veterans nodded, seeing their own healing mirrored in Nora's courage. The silence was electric, Phantom's calm a powerful rebuttal to his dangerous label, Nora's presence, his anchor. "You're doing great," she whispered, her voice a quiet hymn, their connection a beacon in the morning light. The conservationists captivated, debated fervent, concluding Phantom was a living proof of wolves' potential to coexist. "Nora and Phantom are a model case," a biologist declared. "He must protect them." They pledged financial and scientific support for Victor's proposed sanctuary, their commitment to triumph. The veterans, moved by Nora's resolve, suggested a program using animals to aid PTSD recovery. Inspired by her bond, "He's shown us what's possible," one said, wiping a tear, their applause a ripple of hope. Ethan invited Nora to speak, and though reluctant, she stepped forward, her voice hoarse but clear. "Fear isn't weakness. With patience, Phantom taught me that." Her words, brief yet profound, struck deep, especially among the veterans who knew the weight of trauma. Sophie beamed, seeing Nora's impact stretch beyond the forest. The crowd's applause a wave of affirmation, a veteran's tears, a silent nod to shared struggles. By the cave, Nora sat with Phantom, whispering, "You nailed it," his muzzle brushing her hand, amber eyes warm with trust. Pride swelled in her, the wolf not just her companion but a symbol of hope, his role in her PTSD's retreat a quiet miracle. "We're changing things," she thought, her gaze fierce yet tender, their journey a ripple reaching far beyond bitter root. Ethan and Lila, elated by the conservationists' pledge, planned the sanctuary's future, but a snapped branch in the distance. A footstep jolted Ethan, his eyes narrowing. Poacher, Nora's enemy, Khalil. The forest's peace was a thin mask, danger ever present. Phantom climbed to rise, eyes on Nora, his howl proud yet warm, a song of victory and vigilance. Their triumph was undeniable, but the bitter root's shadows held threats, and Nora and Phantom's fight, though radiant, was far from won. The bitter root forest cradled Ethan Caldwell's cabin in a gentle morning glow, sunlight filtering through the pines, warming the weathered logs as the hearth crackled within. The air was alive with bird song and the distant murmur of a creek, weaving a serene calm that belied the trials Nora Hayes had endured. Yet beneath this tranquility the forest held its secrets. Poachers, a vengeful enemy lurking in the shadows, a silent threat to the fragile peace. Days had passed since Nora and Phantom the Grey Wolf captivated conservationists at the expanded observations, their story rippling outward, igniting hope for a sanctuary and new beginnings. This dawn marked a turning point, a moment where Nora's personal growth and the sanctuary's future stood, poised to intertwine. In the cabin's kitchen, Nora sat with Ethan and Lila Bennett, a quiet courage in her gray eyes. For the first time she spoke, her voice hoarse but steady, unraveling the war that had scarred her. She recounted the IED blast in the Middle East, the explosion that stole her squad, her words raw as she described the smoke, screams and guilt that birthed her PTSD. Phantom gave me back my voice, she said, her gaze earnest, tracing how the wolf's trust had anchored her, pulling her from despair to purpose. He showed me life still matters, her openness a breach in her silent walls, lifted a weight each word a step from darkness, her sincerity stirring Ethan and Lila. It's like shedding chains, she added, a faint smile breaking through, her heart lighter than it had been in years. Ethan, his silver hair catching the light, listened with a quiet reverence, seeing in Nora's candor the power of her bond with Phantom. I've saved animals to heal myself, he shared, his voice low, recounting how the wild had mended his own wound. You've done something greater, Lila, ever the scientist, jotted notes, her biologist's mind racing. You and Phantom are living proof nature heals, she said, her tone awed. You're inspiring us all. Their encouragement warmed Nora, affirming her recovery wasn't just personal, it was a beacon for others, a ripple beyond the forest. Karen Wells, Nora's social worker, arrived, her clipboard and notes in hand, to assess her progress, observing Nora's steady gaze and clear voice, especially as she spoke of Phantom's role in the observation. Karen's eyes wide. You found a path no one foresaw, she said, admiration clear. Phantom's not just a wolf, he's your key to reclaiming yourself. Her words, professional yet heartfelt, underscored Nora's transformation. After a thorough review, Karen made a pivotal decision, closing Nora's file. Your bond with Phantom has rebuilt your confidence and purpose, she wrote in her report. This is a model for animal-assisted therapy, handing Nora the confirmation. Karen smiled as Nora's eyes shone with pride, tinged with disbelief. I didn't think I'd get this far, Nora murmured, clutching the paper, her journey's weight sinking in. Sophie Kane arrived, her brown hair framing a determined face, carrying a preliminary plan for a veteran program, using wolf interactions to treat PTD. Inspired by Nora's journey, you showed me wolves aren't just wild, they're teachers, Sophie said, her voice earnest. I want others to feel this. The program would partner with the sanctuary, offering observation sessions to build trust and patience, mirroring Nora's path. Nora, initially wary of being a symbol, nodded, her resolve firm. Patience and trust, that's what Phantom taught me, she said, proposing small observation sessions, where she'd share her experience. I'll help, she added, a new purpose igniting, not just guarding Phantom but aiding others. Haunted by trauma, her growth a quiet triumph over her past. Ethan, energized by Sophie's vision, huddled with Lila, mapping the sanctuary's expansion to support the program. We'll need a safe observation area, he said, sketching plans for reinforced fencing and viewing platforms. Lila, her notebook brimming, suggested seeking grants, noting Phantom's data could draw national support. Ethan's pen paused, his voice firm. Nora and Phantom didn't just save each other, they're saving this forest. His belief in their impact, a legacy born of trust, fueled his determination to secure their future. Even as threats loomed, alone in her room, Nora flipped through Sophie's wolf book. PTSD now a distant shadow, replaced by strength and hope. I'm not that lost soldier anymore, she whispered, her reflection in the window fierce yet serene. Phantom gave me a path. The realization, profound and grounding, marked her journey's culmination, a legacy not just for her but for those she'd inspire. Her eyes, once clouded by war, gleamed with purpose, her heart set on building something enduring. On the porch, Nora gazed at Phantom, perched on a distant rise, his amber eyes meeting hers, a silent vow of their unbreakable bond. Ethan, checking cameras, fresh, track near the zone, human perhaps, sent a chill through him. Poachers, Khalil, Nora's hunter, the forest's calm was a veil, danger ever present. They're out there, he muttered, his resolve hardening. Phantom's howl rose, bold yet tender, a song. Their triumph was radiant, but the bitter roots' shadows whispered of trials yet to come, a battle unresolved in the wild's restless heart. The forest lay cloaked in silver moonlight, its towering pines casting long shadows across the snow-dusted earth, weaving a dreamlike calm that belied the trials Nora, Hayes and Phantom, the gray wolf had endured. Weeks had passed since their bond captivated conservationists, their story a beacon of hope, now echoing far beyond Montana's wild heart. The distant creek's murmur blended with a gentle breeze, crafting a serene yet fragile peace. The forest's quiet length, with a faint tension of threats unresolved. This was no ordinary night. It was a moment of triumph, a new chapter for the sanctuary and the community, where Nora and Phantom's legacy stood poised to reshape lives. In a cabin aglow with firelight, Ethan Caldwell, Nora and Lila Bennett gathered, the air heavy with purpose. Daniel Holt's article in Wild Horizons, titled The Wolf and the Soldier, A Journey of Healing and Bitter Root, had ignited a firestorm of inspiration. Its vivid recounting of Phantom's shift from feral to trusting, mirrored by Nora's emergence from PTSD's shadow, captivated readers. Its images of their observation sessions, searing into hearts, hundreds of letters. Ethan marveled, sifting through messages from veterans and conservationists, each one a testament to the story's reach. People are finding hope, he said, his silver hair catching the glow, pride in his voice. A conservationist's note stood out. Nora and Phantom have redefined human-wildlife bonds. Their proof trust can heal. The words profound and affirm underscored their impact. A ripple spreading across forums. Veterans nationwide reached out, Nora's courage stirring them to face their own PTSD. Your story gave me strength, one wrote. Others, signing up for Sophie Kane's program, drawn by the promise of healing through wolves. Conservationists, awed by Lila's data, sent funding proposals, viewing Phantom as a model for rewilding wolves. They're a case study, Lila said, her notebook brimming, her biologist's precision tempered by wonder. They've changed how we see coexistence. Nora, her gray owl eyes steady, a quiet pride swelling. I didn't expect this, she admitted, her voice soft, the weight of their influence sinking in, her PTSD scars fading as purpose took root. At the cabin, Ethan, Nora and Lila mapped out the sanctuary's future, a small haven for Phantom and other wolves, doubling as a healing space for veterans. They chose a plot near the observation zone, backed by Victor Kane's funds and conservationist grants, envisioning secure fences, cameras and an observation deck for Sophie's program. We're building a legacy, Lila's, proposing a research hub to track Phantom's behavior, not just for wolves but for anyone needing to heal. Ethan nodded, his pen racing. This is for trust, for hope. Their plan, a fusion of science and compassion, aimed to honor Nora and Phantom's journey, a sanctuary rooted in their bond. Sophie, her role as coordinator blooming, rallied locals, launching fundraisers and crafting educational materials on wolves for veterans. This is our chance to give back, she said, her determination fierce. Victor, transformed from foe to ally, offered a hefty grant and additional land. I feared wolves once, he confessed to Ethan, his voice low. Nora and Phantom showed me otherwise. This is my amends. Their collaboration, an unexpected alliance with Ethan, turned the sanctuary into a symbol of reconciliation, a beacon for Bitterroot's community, its mission to heal both land and souls. Nora embraced her new role, agreeing to guide veteran sessions for Sophie's program, sharing her journey with Phantom to teach patience and trust. It's about listening, she told Ethan, her voice firm, her once guarded heart open. She began a journal,
its pages tracing her days with the wolf, a seed for a book to inspire others. I was closed off, she reflected, her eyes bright with purpose. Now I'm helping others find their way. Her PTSD, once a crushing weight, had faded, her gaze clear, her role as a quiet leader, a testament to her growth, a mirror to Phantom's own transformation. A sanctuary, christened Haven of Trust, launched with a private ceremony. Ethan, Nora, Lila, Sophie, Victor and a few veterans gathered near the cave. A plaque honored Phantom, for Phantom, who taught us trust and courage. Though absent, his spirit loomed large, This isn't just a home for wolves, Ethan declared, his voice just a home for wolves. Ethan declared, his voice borne by resilience and hope under a full moon. Nora slipped from the cabin to the observation zone, standing beside Phantom on a rise, his silver fur glowing, her face serene in the lunar light. He raised his head, unleashing a long soulful howl, its strength and gentleness echoing through the forest, a declaration of their shared healing. Nora's hand brushed his fur, her eyes glistening with peace. "We did it, you and me," she whispered, her heart unburdened, war's wounds replaced by gratitude. "And we'll keep going." The moment iconic and sacred sealed their journey, two souls bound by trust, their courage alight in the wild. Nora stood still, reflecting on her path, from a lost soldier to a beacon of hope. Phantom's lessons in fear and strength. Her guide, fear can lead to power, she thought. Her heart light, the forest's embrace a testament to their triumph. Ethan, watching from the cabin's window, saw their silhouettes, a smile breaking through. "They've changed everything," he murmured, their story a force reshaping lives. From veterans to the forest itself. Yet a faint snap, a branch, footsteps, jolted Ethan, his eyes narrowing as he checked the cameras. Poachers. Khalil, Nora's hunter. The forest's calm was a fragile mask. Danger ever present. "They're still out there," he muttered, his resolve steeling. Phantom's howl rose again, weaving through the moonlight a song of their far-reaching impact, a call of victory and vigilance. Nora and her wolf had forged a legacy, but the bitter roots' shadows held secrets. Their journey, though triumphant, a battle yet to be fully won. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this story. We'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know your favorite part. If you enjoyed the journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more captivating stories like this one. And don't miss out, hit the notification bell so you're always updated on our latest content. Your support truly means the world to us. Alara Quinn didn't flinch when Grimvale bared its teeth. She met his eyes, not to challenge, but to speak in silence. Deputy Rourke watched the scene unfold. That wolf isn't protecting land. He's guarding history. Alara Quinn didn't flinch when Grimvale bared its teeth. She met his eyes, not to challenge, but to speak in silence. Some truths don't rise in words. They echo in instinct, in scars, in the kind of calm that only warriors carry. Deputy Rourke watched the scene unfold. That wolf isn't protecting land. He's guarding history. Vera whispered, "It's not just survival. That animal has a memory, and it just found its match in her." Some truths don't rise in words. They echo in instinct, in scars, in the kind of calm that only warriors carry.